Is America better without religion, or is America better with religion? Today, we are going to take a look at Charlie Kirk and how he's debating with this kid who is pretty much saying that America would be better without religion.
Yeah.
So let us take a look at the first part of this video.
Yes, sir.
Hi there, Mr. Kirk. Thank you for being out here, and I appreciate your eagerness for an open dialogue. I believe the scariest thing about your beliefs is your eagerness to have a Christian theocracy. And I think that's the scariest thing about J.D. Vance as well. Can you defend it, explain how it doesn't, or how it goes with the First Amendment, and also how it won't affect people who aren't Christian?
I don't want a theocracy. I want this. I want the Constitution. So I want a free society. But I am a Christian, and we have Christian roots, and we must understand that.
Yeah. Okay, the Christian roots. First Amendment, you don't see a little
No, let's read
there?
what the First Amendment says. So what do you think the First Amendment says?
Freedom of religion, freedom of speech.
Right. So how is that an issue?
It's not. You can be a Christian in the
Yeah.
U.S., obviously. But I think what you're promoting, and you've been J.D. Vance's biggest supporter.
I'm a huge J.D.
Right,
Vance
you are
supporter,
a
but I'm not
huge
going to
J.D.
speak
Vance
for him.
guy.
I'll speak for myself. Fair enough?
Yes, that's
Okay,
fair.
got it. But no, what's the issue with the First Amendment?
I have no issue with the First Amendment.
No, but how is
see a
that
danger.
irreconcilable with Christianity?
I see a danger with a Christian theocracy.
Well, I agree. I'm not a theocrat. I want a free society.
You support people who are Christian theocrats.
Well, it depends. I mean, I might agree with them on certain issues.
Vance is a huge Christian theocrat.
Again, I will speak for him on this. He wants what I want. He wants a restoration of a free society.
He wants a Christian society.
Well, a Christian society is different than a theocracy. Well, you'd agree. If you want the most Americans to be Christian, it's different than the composition of the government that you want, right?
I agree with that.
Yeah, so I want a revival of Christianity in this country. I want people to give their life to Jesus in huge numbers, but I want a government that is rooted in the Constitution and is a Republican, small r Republican form of government.
Fantastic. You defended that very well.
So for those of you that don't know, and to be honest, I didn't know, when they talk about theocracy, right?
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I'm sorry, I'm 59, 58 years old.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what it was. So I had to go look it up. So if you don't know, it's where the government is mostly run by priests, or I would say religious people.
Yeah.
So this kid is saying that Christians, or Charlie, or J.D. Vance, is wanting a theocracy where it's a government run by
Priests.
And in talking about this subject, we did a video that can a Christian vote for the Democratic Party,
Right.
which is a really interesting video.
Very good.
Some good thoughts there.
Yeah.
So we will put a link up top so you can check that video out. We don't want a government run by all religious or Christians, but there's got to be some balance. I mean, just like we wouldn't want a president that, I mean, is biased on any behalf, whether it be religion, sexual orientation, or anything. I mean, we don't want that. You know, the government needs some balance, as I gotta say. And it seems like these last 3 years, yes. I mean, the government and the current leadership have really attacked, or is attacking, our Christian values. And to me, it seems like they're swaying way over here when there needs, we just want balance. We want to be heard. We don't want to feel like we're a minority. And, you know, another religion gets, it should be fair.
It should be fair. You know, as a Christian, you know the end times. You know what that means.
It's
so
coming.
You know
it's coming. It's coming.
So you kind of expect everything to be super, like, weighted on the bad side. You know, you're expecting
it's
that.
coming. Yeah. Hard times ahead.
However, I think that for our children and grandchildren's sake, we need to try and slow it down. So we shouldn't just sit aside and go, okie dokie, that's just the way it's going to go. I know where home is anyway, so I don't care. You know, we need to try and slow it down.
It's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
As we know, I mean, it's a one world government, one world religion, and one world currency. And, you know, you can see
that happening.
It's going to be socialism, one world religion. I'm never sure what that would be. I don't know. It's hard to tell yet. You know, but one world currency, you can see evidence of chips and scanners, and it's happening. So let's watch the next part of Charlie Kirk's video.
I think you often correlate that Christianity to the loss of masculinity in the country. Would that be correct?
Sometimes. Yeah, I think that as America has become more secular and feminine, we've become less Christian, for sure. But I think that men who understand the gospel and understand the scriptures will take ownership of their life, of their family, and then their country, for sure. Okay, but there's exceptions to that.
You know, this is a really good point. I think that as Christianity gets pushed out and the left has their way, men are losing their masculinity. I mean, I have never been in a time where I've seen men wanting to be women. I mean, it's just nuts. And I mean, what happened to chivalry and the man stepping up? So he has it's a good point.
It is a good point. And you know, when we were growing up, I mean, the men were like, you know,
they took care of
big, the marble man. He was like riding his horse,
he didn't smoke,
camping out with the guys. He's got his big beard, you know. Yeah. He was the manly man.
He was a manly man.
And now they're riding in on a scooter.
Well, men with, I mean, it's just, it is nuts. And you know, I can't imagine as far as like dating and getting married. I mean, I think a woman deep down in her heart that's wanting to get married today wants a man that's going to take care of her. She doesn't want a man where you're going to have to take care of me. I'm the man.
I know, but there's so many women that are,
feminists.
You know, the women are tending to push the men this way
which
too.
Which is another good example.
Right, because, you know, the women aren't saying, I need a man. The women are saying, I can do it.
I can do it.
I don't need a man.
It's like, okay, and so, you know, that's true. And so the men aren't stepping up because the woman says, I'll open my own door.
Right.
It's like, fine, go ahead.
And I'll pay for my own door.
Right.
And you know, they don't want that anymore.
Right. So the roles of masculinity and femininity are getting confused. And, you know, he's right. Christianity pretty much lays out, I mean, there's a lot of verses in the Bible that talk about men's roles, the female roles, and the roles of the parents to the children. I mean, just one good one that we like, if you want to look it up, is Ephesians 5:22 through 23. I mean, Bible is basic. You know, the man is the head of the house.
Yeah.
And the woman, you know, shouldn't be, you know, submissive to, it's hard because, you know, when you read it, it's like, oh my gosh, a woman just has to bow down and just kiss his feet. Well, that's not it. That's not submissive is, because the man's supposed to love the wife as much as Christ loves the church.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so it's like, so when people read that, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not just going to bend down to a man. That's not it. That's not what God meant.
Yeah, no.
And that's why Christianity or religion helps define
morals and values.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's watch the next section of the video.
Yeah.
Do you acknowledge that the inheritance of this great country was largely built by Christians?
The majority of the people in the country were Christians. That doesn't mean we are...
Do you think it has anything to do with why the country was great?
Oh, I'm not going to get trapped here. Okay, I'm not going to let myself
Well, it's not a trap. I'm just like,
no.
Because it was a great country and most of the country was Christian, are those two things two separate data points, or is there any reason why those two things were both true?
I think there's a link, but I think there's plenty of immigrants who were not Christian. I think Jewish people, I think immigrants of all countries. Yeah. Just because you have the majority of Christians in the country, and America being a great country, doesn't mean that they're inextricably linked.
Let's take the Christian element out of it.
Yeah.
Let's just say the majority of the country was religious. Do you think the country was better when most of the country was religious and going to a church, a religious service, believed that there was a God, that they believed that there was something higher than them, that there was something holding them accountable? Do you think the country was better then? My belief is that when a country becomes less religious, more secular, something fills that void, and that void right now is leftism. That void is BLM movements, the trans stuff, Democrat politics, and so you can have high opinions or low opinions of Christianity, but would you agree with Richard Dawkins, who's an atheist, that he likes Christian society?
You know, this is a great point, because, you know, he's right. I mean, our country was founded on Christian values. If you go way back to the beginning, I mean, prayer in schools, in God we trust on all the coins. I mean, we really made God our focus. We went to church, maybe whether you didn't really want to, but it was the right thing to do. And if you go through the history, you know, it's becoming less and less and less and less and less. And I really think, you know, Charlie's right, is our country prospered better back then to where now we're trying to just take religion, and we'll just say religion, okay?
Yeah.
Because he's not really saying Christianity in this section, he's saying religion as a general. You know, things aren't great. I mean, let's be honest, things aren't great.
Right.
And, you know, I really believe it's because, you know, we just don't want God, and he's leaving. He's like, fine, you know, God gives us all free will, and he's like, if you don't want me, I'm out of here. I mean, he's never out of there, but you're making your own decisions. You're going to have to suffer with the consequences of your actions and your decisions.
And it comes down.
She has a thought.
Well, it comes down to the morals and values. Yeah. I mean, that's all it really, you know, as a religious person, you have those good morals and values. And if you're not in any religion, do you have any? But I think what we've noticed without those morals and values, you have more, you know, domestic dispute and crime and, you know, all the negativity that God's going to hand us over to, that evil, because we're not looking for him. Not, you know, we're replacing it.
You know, if a person's religious, okay, so usually a religious person seeks a higher power, whether it's God, whether it's whatever your deity or entity is, and they try to please that person, you know, and they fill themselves with, you know, that person's morals. And most religion, except, you know, twisted religion where they kill people, you know, most religion's peaceful and good. So if you, as a country, if we're losing our religion, you are going to fill up with something.
Well,
and I think that's what you're kind of saying. I mean, if you don't have the peace and the harmonious life, you're going to fill yourself up with something and believe in something. Now, whether that's an extreme leftist, whether it's woke, whether it's anger, domestic violence, whatever it is, you are going to fill up on that.
Well, and I think that's a good point right there, is that you're not focusing on a God. You're the God.
You're your own God.
It's you.
Right.
You know? So what are you going to do? Everything's selfish. Everything's about you.
Right. Which we see with the culture today. Everything's about me.
Right.
And they don't want religion.
Right.
So it's all about me.
Why would they?
Right. So let us watch the last section of this video.
I don't think you're going to believe me, but I hope I plant a seed. That you have an idea that's largely pushed by the media, that there's a bunch of like super KKK radical people that are waiting to take over the country, when in reality your average Christian's like this guy who just like wears a cross and I would imagine believes in Christianity because you have a cross? Okay, good. Not everyone does. And it's just like you know what I mean? Just like a pious person that believes there's a creator and we are not him, and wants to go to a church service and is doing their best and falls short. You know, but what I'm getting at is the mechanisms of a religious society is good for everybody. When somebody walks around and thinks that you were created and that you're not God, you tend to have better citizens.
To answer the question, I think we've answered is yes, America is better with religion. I mean, I think we've proved it. I mean, you have better morals, better values, a higher power. I mean, I know it's better family life, stronger marriage, well-behaved children, right? I mean, I think the country prospers because, I mean, instead of us always being so angry with everybody, I mean, it gets exhausting, doesn't it? And by the way, this kid in the video, I'll say he really did a great job. He really
does. If you're familiar with a lot of these debates, most of the woke kids, they get so angry, they walk away, they don't listen.
Foul language.
I mean, this kid at least, you know, he at least accepts it and says, okay.
Right.
You know,
you proved your point.
That's a good point, and maybe he'll even think about it.
Right.
You know, but at least he did. He was really good.
Respectful.
Really respectful.
We would love to hear your thoughts on this, whether you think, is it out of balance? Is it in balance? Do we need more religion, less religion? We would love to hear your comments, so please post your comments below.
Yes. Yes, and in closing, I think this was a really good question.
I love
to ponder.
Yeah, it is.
Because
thought-provoking.
Well, yeah, because I think as a Christian, you kind of expect everybody just to, not expect, but you want everybody to be Christian. You want everybody to believe in Jesus.
Yeah, and
accept him as your savior. So, but this really took a look at religion as a whole, and how our families can be better, our marriages can be stronger. We can have a better community that's not about hate.
Or all about you.
Right, wrong, and it's all about me.
It's never about you. It's about other people, loving other people, accepting other people,
Yeah. Morals and values.
Yes.
That's the key.
Morals and values.
All right, you guys, we will see you in the next video.